Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins and today I'm talking to author Courtney Hillesheim. Courtney is a former New York public school teacher with over a decade of ESL teaching experience. After having her two daughters and returning to the classroom, she realised there is a vital need for parents to have access to the strategies, information and perspectives that teachers use every day in their classrooms. She created her company Parent Focus, becoming a parent educational coach and author with the focus of supporting parents in guiding their children through the 12-year process of formal education. She is the author of two books, the Parents Back to School Handbook and Parent-Teacher Conference Handbook, and this is the one we'll be talking about today. Hello Courtney, welcome and thank you for coming back on Book Talk Radio Club.
Hello, thank you for having me again. I'm so excited to speak to you and all of your listeners.
Oh, it's my pleasure. During my years at school, sometime back in the Stone Age, my parents didn't have a book like this, and they managed to deal with each one of my new school years. Why do parents now need a handbook to help them when meeting with their child's teacher?
I think back when we were in school, our parents were much more hands-off. I think when I look back in my childhood, and you probably look back on your own, a lot of our education was within our own hands as students, and it focused mostly in the school. So the teachers had more control, and we as students had more of a steering position in terms of our education, even when we were young.
Yes.
But now, I think when I look at my clientele, when I look at the parents I interact with in workshops, I notice that these parents want to be more involved. They want to be hands-on. They want to be able to communicate with their children's teachers in a manner that allows them to bring learning into their own homes that will help bridge that gap between home and school. So because parents have this interest, I find a lot of parents are frustrated when they're not getting that type of information from their children's teachers. And they don't know how to communicate that they want to be partners in their children's education. And I think this is what the book is designed to help parents do.
In your book blurb, you say when your child has a very open and communicative teacher one year and the next year is followed by a teacher with the opposite personality, how can parents still get the information they need? My question is, why aren't teachers trained to communicate effectively about their students?
That was an interesting question. I find that when we go through our formal training as teachers, when we start with the bachelor's degree and into the master's, so much of it is focused on child development and child psychology and learning how to properly assess students, learning how to help students learn the basics and the foundations of reading and writing and how to understand the way children learn,
Right.
that a lot of that training is left to your field experience. So once you're put in a classroom with a master teacher as a student teacher, a lot of times you're expected to get that experience of communicating with parents when you're working with that master teacher. I was able to see that firsthand as a student teacher, but I do know that a lot of times when teachers are sent into the field as student teachers, their schedules might not line up with when these conferences happen, and so they don't get to actually see it firsthand.
So that part of it all is
one element.
Yeah, so that part of it, the communicating with the parents, is just from experience and being shown, I guess.
From experience, yes.
Right.
And I also think it has to do with personalities as well.
Sure.
There are many fields where the professional has to communicate with someone, and we have ones who do it better and ones who don't. For example, the medical field, I know we've all experienced doctors who could just explain exactly what we needed to do in such a warm and caring way. And then we have others who will hand you a piece of paper and say, this is it. So it also varies with personality, even with or without the training.
Good answer. Your book has different sections, the pre-visit section, the during the visit section, and an outline of how to create an effective follow-up meeting. Courtney, would you like to tell me about them, please?
The one thing that I enjoyed most when I was doing parent-teacher conferences was when a parent came in with information. They knew their child's test scores. They knew how their child was feeling about my class. They They communicated with their child beforehand, and that allowed for a much richer conversation. So the pre-visit section helps parents to kind of gauge where their child is at before they enter the conversation with me or with their child's teacher. And what that does is it allows the teacher to give you even more information because they don't have to catch you up. You're already there. You're already aware of where your child is currently standing. So now they're able to give you much richer detail in terms of how you can keep your child on track or get your child on track. So the pre-visit section allows parents to prepare beforehand, gather their information, and then come to the conversation with clear understanding of where their child is. The during the visit section is great because a lot of times parents come, they sit down, and they start talking. But what I recommend there is to take in your child's environment. What does the room look like? How does it feel? Is any of your child's work displayed on the walls as you walk around the classroom? And what that does is it allows you to get a taste of your child's day in this room. And you'll be able to understand possibly how your child is affected by this environment and maybe ways you can help them at home to get more comfortable with that environment. And the follow-up section is how to make sure that whatever happens in that meeting continues. So we want to make sure that we're setting up good communication with the teacher in the sense that we exchange contact information, we leave the door open for friendly and tactful conversations in the future, and we want to leave on a positive note so that when we have to follow up, this is something the teacher is looking forward to, and they're much more apt to do so.
It's changed a hell of a lot since my school days.
It is so much more. It's different. It is, even from mine.
One of the first questions is, what is your role as a parent when it comes to your child's education? As both an ex-teacher and a parent yourself, how do you see the parent's role?
That, to me, Claire, is what has changed a lot. I think that because the education system has shifted here in the United States to the degree that now the expectations are so much higher on our children, even starting in kindergarten, there is no way that parents can take the role that our parents took. In the sense that, it's kind of like what happens at school, you do what you got to do, and it's my job to tell you to do it, and that's it.
That's it, exactly.
We were able to function well back then, but now, because the demands and the expectations that are on these young people are so much higher, parents have to be much more involved than they had to be decades ago when we were in school. So because of that, I think that these parent-teacher conferences will allow parents to understand this shift because we're also looking at parents who went to school when we went to school. And they're probably just as shocked as I was when my daughter started school and as you were when your child started school, because that's not what our parents had to do.
No.
Our parents did not have to sit down and review things with us. Our parents did not have to sit down and study with us to make sure we understood information. That was our responsibility.
Yes.
But the demands, the Common Core standards, the state exams, the Regents testing that's happening now makes it where a parent has to take a front seat passenger position with their child when it comes to education.
What actually is a parent-teacher conference?
So a parent-teacher conference is a meeting that happens twice a year. So the required meeting is twice a year. But according to the new standards, there are now times and spaces where parents can come 4 times a year, which is awesome. And what you're doing is you're entering your child's classroom environment and you're sitting down with your child's teacher to go over what growth or lack of growth you and the teacher have noticed. So whereas a lot of people feel it's time for the teacher to tell the parent what needs to be done, what hasn't been done, this should be a 2-way conversation because this conference allows the teacher to hear what's happening at home and it allows the parent to hear what's happening at school. So this should be a melding of the minds on how to help this specific child be a successful student for that school year. And when it happens the right way, you see all 3, the parent, the teacher, and the child, thrive. And that's what I'm hoping for with anyone who decides to pick up the book.
One of the chapters, excuse me, I'll try that again. One of the chapters is entitled Attitudes Towards Parent-Teacher Conferences. As an ex-teacher, did you find vastly different attitudes towards these meetings?
I definitely did. I noticed that I had parents who would not show up at all, and that was frustrating. I noticed that I had parents who showed up and had reserved attitudes towards me as a teacher, and that made it difficult to communicate. And then I noticed the parents who came and who were ready to engage me and figure out everything that they wanted to do, everything they needed to do to help their child, and were also willing to tell me what they thought I should do to help their child as well. And those were the most meatiest conversations that I've had as a teacher. And I understand it. As a working parent, it is hard to carve that time out. I also realize that it has to do with your previous experiences in parent-teacher conferences. If you've had a negative experience or several negative experiences, those travel with you. Each school year where you have to meet another one of your child's teachers, you have those reservations in the back of your mind, and those can definitely affect how you approach the next teacher. And until we as parents figure out exactly what kind of teacher we're going to be dealing with, we're reserved because we're entering a situation where we don't know this person, but our child knows this person, and this person plays a major role in our child's life for that year. So I understand each of those attitudes, and what I'm hoping is that the book allows for those attitudes to have a better understanding of the value of these meetings.
Another chapter is entitled Questions to Hack the Information Funnel. What is the information funnel?
The information funnel, if we can imagine it, is the teacher's brain to our brain as parents. So we know a funnel, it starts out really big at the top, and then depending on the funnel, it gets narrower and narrower and narrower until it's this tiny little hole at the bottom, and that's the only bits of liquid you get. So what we want to do is we want to spread that. We want to make sure that narrowing is not so severe. And the way that we do that is asking the right questions. Teachers are human, so there may be times where they forget that they were supposed to share something with a parent. There may be times where they don't think an issue is as important as the parent does. And so when we have the right questions, we're able to make sure that the top of that funnel is super wide and that the bottom of that funnel is as close to wide as possible, so that everything we need to know, which is what the teacher knows about our child, is what we receive when we go to these meetings. The right questions, the right mindset when we walk into the door, and leaving the right information in terms of contact is what really helps hack that funnel.
And you know what, Courtney, I wish you were my teacher when I was at school. You come across so professional. I'm sure you are, but it definitely, you can hear it in your voice and the way you talk. It's very impressive. So you talk about the team of three. What is this team of three?
I think that thank you for your compliment, and I think that one of the reasons why I feel this way is because of this team of three. I think that the teacher, the parent, and the child, the student, are the three most important pieces to a student's success. And they all should be treated with respect, they all should be treated with dignity, and they should treat each other with respect and dignity. And when that team is able to communicate with each other, we see them being able to push this child, or let's say support this child, in becoming a successful student. And it's very important that we understand me as a parent is completely different than me as a teacher.
Sure.
And that was hard for me to understand when my daughter started school, because I was ready to operate in everyone's role. and it posed a problem. So I had to learn for myself, Sophia has these responsibilities, her teacher has these responsibilities, and I have these responsibilities in this team. And when I stay in my role and support her teacher and support her as a student from my role, we were able to see Sophia thrive. And we were able to see her grow and learn to love school and enjoy it. And so that's one thing that I wrote about in all of my books, because once we understand that role we play in this team for our child's success, we're able to see a lot more growth. And it's a wonderful feeling.
Tell me about FocusParent.com. What is that?
So FocusParent.com is a website that allows me to enter everyone's home. One person, and I can't be everywhere, even though I do work with clients. I wanted to create a space where parents could just go get the specific strategies they needed to help their child, or watch a specific video on what their child was needing in a moment, and implement those strategies in their home and feel good. So I have videos on there. I have links to downloads for templates if your child is struggling with writing, if your child is struggling with breaking up steps in math problems. And it allows parents to kind of have this DIY, the do-it-yourself approach to helping their child feel more comfortable and excited about school.
On your website, the words "where families make educational success a routine" feature boldly. How do families make educational success a routine?
By being consistent. Being consistent with the way and the times you communicate with your child about their school day. Being consistent with the process of how the evening goes when your child comes home from school. And to the best of our abilities, making sure that what happens on a usual day happens each day. So if we create a routine where our child has a snack before they do their homework, or they watch a little TV to relax before they do their homework, we want to be consistent with it, because when we are consistent, it becomes an expectation and it becomes the norm. And that helps to alleviate any types of frustrations that could potentially come into play when it's time for our child to come into our homes and do homework or study for an exam. When they know what's going to happen, they're less likely to buck the system.
Exactly.
And so that's what the routine of education is about. Just like any other routine we create in our lives, when we stick to it and do it consistently, we see ourselves and our bodies and our minds fighting us less
Exactly.
when it comes time to do what we have to do.
You also hold school workshops. Who and what are these for?
Oh, the school workshops are awesome. For the most part, the school workshops are held by PTAs. They bring me in, and I'm able to come into a school, and depending on what the school requests, it can be a workshop where I'm just sharing information, or it can be a workshop where I'm facilitating conversations that parents would potentially like to have. So I have a parent-teacher conference workshop where the parents are able to come in, tell me what's going on, and ask me, how can I approach a teacher with this? What's the best way for me to get the most results? So they get a copy of the book, or they get a copy of a worksheet process that I have to help them pre-game it. So they're pre-gaming with me, and then when they step into the classroom for the conference, they're already set. So you have that type of workshop. I also have study workshops where we have parents from grades 3 through 12, for the most part. Your child will be taking state exams. And parents want to know how to help their child prepare for these exams or assist the school in preparing their child for these exams. And so that's what that workshop is geared toward. We have the homework routine workshop for parents who feel like they're struggling with setting a consistent routine at home when it comes to homework. That's a fun workshop, and I get to hear a lot of parents share what they're doing. And those are great because it's not me speaking, it's other parents coming in with their experiences and helping the parents who are coming in and feeling like they need assistance.
Fantastic.
So I facilitate those conversations. Yes, I love it.
I see that you're receiving some good reviews for Parent-Teacher Conference Handbook, including this is a perfect resource for all parents to make sure they make the most of the very limited time we have at a Parent-Teacher Conference. And excellent and extremely helpful. Helped me get the most out of my meeting with my child's teacher. Highly recommended. High praise indeed, Courtney. Last of all, where can the Book Talk Radio Club listeners purchase Parent-Teacher Conference Handbook and the Parents Back to School Handbook?
Right now, it is available on Amazon as a Kindle download or an actual paperback that you can purchase. And what I am excited to announce is that starting this Friday, the Kindle download will be free. I am very serious about parents going into these conferences feeling good and expecting the most from their child's teacher.
Wonderful.
So I'm making it free starting this Friday. If you would like the Kindle download, Friday at 12 a.m. on the dot. So what time is that for you, Claire, in London?
5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Yeah.
in London and 12 a.m. here in the United States and the Eastern Seaboard in New York and down the East Coast. It will be available for everyone to download for free.
Fantastic.
And all I would like is to hear your feedback. So I do hope to get a lot of feedback on what parents would like to see me add to the book, because I want everyone to feel good about these conversations when it comes to our children's education.
That's really important. Well, look, okay, thank you, Courtney. It's lovely to chat with you again. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club again, and good luck for the future. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Thanks so much, Courtney.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you once again for this opportunity.
My pleasure.